we doing today? I'm seeing a lot of friends in the chat. Welcome. Welcome to the live stream. I am back after having been gone a few weekends for travel and stuff. Hello. My illustrator Sarah is in the chat. I see you guys asking her about chairs. Everyone be calm. But yeah, I've had some adventures over the past couple weeks. I was at StoryCon in Utah, which was super, super fun. And while I was there, someone did walk up, who has been watching my live stream, someone did walk up and hand me this little mushroom that they crocheted, which I really wanted to show you guys because it was absolutely adorable. And look at the detail on this. My sister crochets, so I know how much work this takes. This is impressive. Everyone applaud the mushroom, please. Excellent mushroom. I'm not here, says my illustrator. But yes, so I got a little mushroom at StoryCon Utah, which was super, super fun. I've never been to a conference quite like that before, where it was so much more focused on, I think, more of like the fandom and the fantasy aspect, but I had an absolutely incredible time. Met a lot of fun readers. If any of you were at StoryCon Utah and you're in the chat, say hello. I would love to know if any of you guys made it to a live stream. I need that. Claps, clappage, wonderful. We're all applauding the mushroom. Good, good, good. I also, if you want something else to applaud, I also got a pocket watch. Was this necessary? No. Do I love it? Yes. Look at this thing. Look at this thing. Look at this thing. It's so cool. I'm living out all of my steampunk dreams right now. And it does, in fact, open. Look at this thing. I love it. It's like a little fidget toy as well, because I can be like, I can, ooh, I'm not doing it correctly. I can click it closed, and then I can open it again, and then I can click it closed, and then I can open it again. And the chain is like just wide, just big enough. It's a pretty big chain, so it's just big enough that I can like put it around my waist like a belt. And as soon as I bought it at StoryCon, I wore it. I put it on, I had it around my waist, and I was just kind of like absently, I had a little fidget toy as I was standing at my booth, which was amazing. So, loving my pocket watch as well. We have our little show and tell session here every time. I will now be suspicious of you after my recent reading. Ah, yes, yes. My illustrator, who is also my beta reader, I don't know if she will forgive me for what happened in one of my work in progresses more recently. But no spoilers for you guys. This was not acquired from StoryCon, but I also have a Minecraft hat now, and I feel the need to tell everyone about it. Look, we got a little bumblebee. I love him. And little embroidered flowers. Wonderful hat. Anyway, that concludes my show and tell for this week. Cool things with Millie. Lovely. But you guys are here for some writing. Someone asked, was she on one of the Y-Dubs quotes? Yes. So for those missing context, on the Young Writers Workshop community page, I posted some of my favorite quotes from beta readers from one of the books I'm working on, and yes, Sarah, your quotes were featured. Multiple of them, actually, from reading the book. So, yes, she was featured on the Y-Dubs quotes. So cute. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. All right. So, we're going to work on the Sky Island project more today, which I don't think is of a surprise to anyone. But I've actually been working on it a little bit just on my own, off camera, which is fun. Young Writers Workshop, where I work part-time, they have a thing where there's like a daily writing prompt, basically. It's like a one-word prompt. And I've been using that lately to kind of do a bit of free writing for the book. So if we jump over here to writing real quick. Yes. So we have this opening, which you guys are already pretty familiar with. I think I maybe added a little bit to the end since the last time we talked about it. But we have this, and then I wrote an entirely new scene, which I don't know if it will actually end up in the book or not, but I wanted to play around with like writing Everett and Matilda's characters and kind of get a bit more used to that. And then there's also, I need to put it in here. But I also wrote a scene where I was practicing writing Everett flying. Let me grab that real quick and add it over here. But I have been working on it behind the scenes. So we have a couple little things that I'm going, that I've already written here. And then the main goal of today is going to be actually writing chapter 1, is my plan. So let's, yeah. Nope, also wrong. You know what, that's fine. So we have this one scene about practicing writing Everett and Matilda, and we have this scene of writing Everett flying, which I wanted to play with. So why don't we start by reading these loud to catch you guys up who have not seen me post these. So, hey, hello, welcome to the live stream. I'm hungry, Everett announced. Matilda did not look up from the tangle of broken glider equipment. Again, may change. I'm imagining this is around the first time that they met. So, good for you. This was not quite the reaction that Everett had hoped for. He frowned, rocking back and forth on his heels, as if he was being quite honest with himself. He had not been more than a few steps away from an obvious food source, maybe ever, in his life. He circled his companion to stand in front of where she knelt on the mossy ground. Matilda! Matilda lifted a copper nut to the light and narrowed her eyes at it. Hello! Everett waved his hand in front of her face. Can't you see me? Matilda lowered the nut and sent him a deeply unimpressed look. I am choosing to ignore you. Why? She sent him another look. Everett guessed he was supposed to be able to read that one somehow, but he was at a loss. That's Everett for you. He probably couldn't read dislike in the face of his greatest enemy. I don't like that metaphor, but we're keeping it for now. Placeholder. I can tell you, however, that the look was one which quite clearly said, because you're being annoying, how is that not obvious? Look, if you're so keen on fixing wings, I do have a pair of wings, you know. Everett ruffled his feathers in demonstration, wincing slightly. And my wings are fixed through food. Matilda sent Everett another look which he was unable to read. Translation, goodness, you are annoying. Can you really not read social cues at all? Am I trapped alone on an island with someone completely incompetent? To be fair to Everett, that's a tricky one. Matildisms are difficult to learn because the only living person fluent in them, Matilda herself, thinks explaining them in spoken words to be the most awkward thing in all of existence. Why she thinks this is a mystery, as she won't explain that to anyone either. Thus, both children were left utterly confused by each other. Everett with the sense that he ought to understand something which he did not, and Matilda with the sense that she ought to be understood when she was not. Both with the uncomfortable feeling that something had gone wrong somewhere, but to admit that would mean looking foolish. So she went back to attempting to reassemble the broken glider, and well, to be quite honest, Everett resorted to some mild invasions of privacy. This came in the form of rifling through Matilda's pack, looking for something edible. She had left the knapsack conveniently just out of her line of sight, which left Everett free to search thoroughly for possible snacks. As it turned out, however, a very thorough search was not required, because a mushroom lay in the very topmost layer of the knapsack. Now, this mushroom is known as the death cap. It was named this for very obvious reasons, which even Everett would be able to read into, if he knew its name. However, seeing as mushrooms, like most plants, do not grow with helpful labels attached, Everett did not know this piece of information. So he tried to put it in his mouth. And, just in case you're like Everett and have difficulty with reading subtext, that's what comes from invasions of privacy, and let it be a lesson to you. But no, he didn't die, to be clear. Matilda, who noticed the lack of annoying comments, thankfully looked over, gasped, lunged across the clearing, and smacked the death cap from Everett's hand. So that was my first little free write to get to know the characters. This bit is definitely going somewhere in the book because I think it's really funny. I've talked about this since one of my original live streams. And it was also me kind of learning how to write the narrator voice. I think I've decided the narrator is just going to continually roast all of the characters. I've never written a narrator like this before, so I felt like it warranted some practice. I did read this bit aloud to my little sister the other day, and she really liked it, and she said it reminded her of The Incorrigible Children of Ashton Place by Mary Rosewood, which I take as a massive compliment, because I love that book series as well. So I do feel like I've gotten a little bit of a feel for how I'm going to write this narrator, and hopefully I'll be able to find some way to connect this scene to this first scene that we already have written. What do you guys think? Let me glance over here at the chat. This is so real, mild invasions of privacy, not the death cap. Matilda has a mom sense. Matilda is just very, I think so I wasn't sure exactly like how I was going to write Matilda, to be honest. And I'm still kind of figuring it out, but I do feel like this bit specifically had like, I've gotten a better sense for her, and I think I'm just gonna make her like like a judgmental introvert, you know, and the classic middle grade thing of like feeling like everything is awkward all of the time, don't look at me, you know, type of thing. So I think I'm gonna lean into that, which will be, you know, very opposite of whoever it is, if you know about him from our previous live streams. So I love Matilda's character. Thank you. I'm glad. Yeah, she's interesting. I'm growing to like her more and more as I have written about her. So we do have this bit written, and then we also have this next bit where I wanted to practice about Everett flying. I have no idea about, like, again, this is rough. I have no idea about the scenery for this one. Or exactly where it's going to be in the story, but I thought I should share it with you guys from the get-go. So, woohoo! Everett launched into the sky, relishing in the feeling of air under his wings once again, lifting him up, up, up into the pearly blue expanse above. Wind streamed through his hair and over the tips of his ears as he gained height. Then he twisted around, tucked his wings in, and dived. I feel like half of this was just figuring out, like, what are all the vocabulary words that make sense to use around a human with wings flying? You know, so down through the fluffy white clouds and past some of the smaller floating islands. He spread his wings again just in time to skim the red clover on the ground. He reached out a hand as he passed Matilda, snatching her hat from her head as he went, grinning. She shouted something after him, but he was already too far away to hear what. He swooped left and turned sideways to thread the needle between two massive tree trunks. Then, concentrating hard, down into the tunnel, its sparkling gemstones winking from the dark walls as he passed. Out into open air again. He executed a flip, then a double roll before dropping Matilda's hat onto the head of one of the giant sleeping mushrooms by the path up to the cliff top. Again, run-on sentence, probably. This is rough. But he curled his hands around the fabric grips on either leg of his flight suit. That's the other thing, kind of like visualizing the flight suit here. I would imagine, like, especially if you're trying to go at very fast speeds, like Everett is, because he's a racer, you don't want your arms to get in the way, because I don't know a lot about physics, but I know enough that, like, that'll cause drag, or whatever it's called. It makes more sense if your arms are, like, by your sides. So I'm like, okay, so he must have, like, little loops on his pant legs, basically, that you can hold on to, so your arms are, like, you're in a more aerodynamic position, basically. He flapped his wings hard, pushing his muscles, propelling himself higher and higher until the collection of islands below him were specks of green in the sea of sky. Gasping for breath, Everett spread his wings into a wind current to give himself a break. It carried him lazily forward, along with that ever-present smell of mist and moss, mingling with the flourishing sweet clover on the ground. Not sure grammatically how that works, but yeah. It's like when they're skydiving. Exactly. Where was I? Yes, okay. Flying, Everett gasped happily, stretching both of his arms out as if to hug the sky itself. You have no idea how much I've missed you. He laughed and blew out a breath of relief. The sky seemed to have missed him too, because the wind current didn't give him any trouble at all. It sent him drifting in a gentle spiral back to the ground, tendrils of cloud dancing around his feathers. It was quiet in the sky, better than quiet, because the wind was always murmuring and mumbling, and the sound swept aside any unpleasant thoughts. Everett closed his eyes and let the whispers fill his mind, his breathing slow. When was the last time he had done this? He couldn't remember, but he thought it was nice. Nice to daydream, to let his mind wander, as if he had left all his worries below on the ground. That was why he had loved racing to begin with. It often felt that if he flew fast enough, none of his worries could catch him. Just him and the wind, him and the next turn, the next spin. Although it hadn't been that way so much lately, now that his worries were the racing itself. But maybe slowing down could do sort of the same thing. Maybe if you weren't chasing after worries, they left you alone. Everett opened his eyes and watched the ground drift closer. Matilda stood on the cliffside, looking up at him. She had retrieved her hat. Did you go fast? Fast? She asked, eyebrows raised, a smile tugging at her lips. So fast, Everett assured her with a grin. He touched down on her left, and both children turned to look out over the bobbing islands, lush and green, clover waving in the breeze. So that was my second little kind of free write, working on this story, getting to know what the characters are like. I imagine Matilda's hat as a bucket hat with a red mushroom pattern. It's probably not that, but you know what? The fair headcanon. Fair headcanon. Yeah. Can I make this a little bit bigger for you guys? Let's see. I can. Okay, lovely. Always helps a little bit. Okay. Awesome. Anyway, so that's catching you guys up on kind of what I've done in the meantime since the last time we checked in. And then today, I think my goal for today is going to kind of be finishing the rough draft of chapter 1, actually having like a solid chapter 1. It's interesting working on this project with you guys, like watching and being able to see my process, because I think it's made me realize how much time that I just let story ideas stew in my brain, whereas this time I found myself kind of more actively trying to show my work, for lack of a better phrase, like with these snippets and things. Like usually when I am writing, I imagine these scenes. I kind of imagine this dialogue, but I don't like write it down as often. But it's more like it kind of grows on me. It kind of builds up in my head over time, often over like months, honestly. And it's kind of an idea I'm playing with in the back of my mind. And I let it stew, I let it develop. And so then when I sit down to actually write, to actually type words on a page, I'm a lot more prepared, all things considered. So it's been quite different to write it with you guys, because these are scenes that I've actually written down now, instead of just kind of letting them stew in my head. And I don't know which method works better, honestly. I feel like they both work pretty well. In a lot of ways, I do think this has kind of forced me to think through some things that I maybe wouldn't otherwise. But yeah, so yeah, it's interesting how this is kind of working with you guys has changed or not changed my process, which is super interesting. Anyway, I do want to work on this today, on chapter 1. So that is what we are going to do. I'm trying to remember where I left off last time. I did add a bit to the end here. I don't remember if you guys are familiar with this bit or not, but it has been really helpful to get to watch you. I'm so glad. That was kind of my hope with this live stream series, is that young writers can kind of see what other people's process looks like, because writing can be very lonely, not only socially, but even just, I mean, you get to see other people in other art mediums actually practicing their craft, right? You can watch a painter painting, you can watch a dancer practicing, or an ice skater or whatever, but you don't often get to see a writer writing, and I felt like hopefully that'll be helpful. So I just like having someone else working while I work as well. Also valid. Also very valid. Okay. So I'm gonna get started writing here. Ah! I bumped my desk. Oh dear. And this is gonna be my emotional support mushroom. Don't watch me paint. Fair enough. It's not for everyone. We don't all need to show our work. Okay. Instead, Everett was saved from his own foolhardiness by the sight of a flash of movement between the trees. So, by the way, guys, I've kind of debated back and forth on if I should consciously try to stay quiet when I'm writing so that other people can work at the same time. Or if I should, like, let myself talk. Because I do, even when I'm just in my room alone, I kind of talk to myself while I write. Like, that's kind of part of my process. But I don't know if that would be distracting for other people who are, like, also trying to do other things at the same time as me. So I don't know. Let me know what you think in the chat. I think today I might talk a little bit more. So because that is a part of my process. But yeah, okay. So let's see if we can find a way to connect this to this. Of course you should not have. I like it when you talk a lot. It's really helpful. Okay, good to know. Good to know. Talk all you want. I'm outlining my novel for points and Y-dubs. Yay, awesome. Okay, I love that. For those who are not a part of Young Writers Workshop, we have a competition going on right now. Basically, we've all been divided up into teams, and it's who can do the most writing / productive writing things. So, got other people working on that as well. A lot of my writing looks at staring at the blank page, thinking eternally, so it wouldn't be hard to keep talking out loud. Yeah, I don't mind if you talk. Is this a writing together live stream or just watching you write? Well, that's what I was just talking to the chat about, right? I think it seems like majority of you are saying do talk because it's helpful to hear the process. So I probably will be talking a little bit more this live stream just to see how it goes and so you guys can hear more of my process. If that's distracting for you, I totally get it. I didn't do that the other times, but I think I might talk a little bit more this time. Ah dear. All the teams from Young Writers Workshop are posting propaganda in the chat. Anyway. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so where I'm at now here is we've kind of gotten to know Everett in this first 1,000 words. It's kind of been a quiet first 1,000 words. In Beyond Mulberry Glen I had more quiet time at the opening, so I don't think it, especially since we have the narrator, I don't think it hurts. But I am looking forward to getting to where he's going to start talking to other people and action things are actually going to start happening. So I see we've got a bit of a competition in the chat, Millie. Yes, we do. I'm on the Empire team, which is Emerald plus Sapphire, I think. So yeah, for Young Writers Workshop for the spring competition. So okay. Instead, Everett was wait, what is he doing? Come to gloat, have you, Everett asked. The bird I love this. The bird chirped happily and flitted effortlessly away. He pressed his lips together and stared after it. Maybe if I try flying one more time. Thankfully, he didn't. I love how roasty this narrator is. Instead, Everett was saved from his own foolhardiness by the sight of a flash of movement between the trees. Yes, okay, so this is where he notices Matilda. What is she doing is the question. Team Amberthist from Young Writers Workshop, you have an ally in the chat. My illustrator is rooting for you. Also, what if Claude Lyle's name is Claude Lyleson? I think that sounds like a cool name. That could be a cool name, yeah. I definitely love this narrator. I'm so glad I do too. Okay. Everett was saved from his own foolhardiness by the sight of a flash of movement between the trees. What is Matilda doing? She is here, obviously. I don't think she got knocked out, so she's probably like fixing her glider. But what is she doing that is fixing her glider that is causing movement between the trees? Is the question here. Because you'd think fixing a glider is you're just sitting on the ground, messing with technical parts. So what does that mean? Maybe she heard him, because he did try to fly. That would make sense. Instead, Everett was saved by his own foolhardiness by the sight of a flash of movement between the trees. It's getting started. That is always the difficult part here. There's also an opportunity for the narrator to be witty. Something I am struggling to balance here is like, how much do I want the narrator to like butt in and talk? Not that there weren't. Rude birds, for one thing. But this movement was distinctly human in flavor. I feel like there's a joke here about the mushrooms eating humans. But also, the word flavor might just be distracting. Me too, I struggle with narrators, yeah. Okay. Flavor. It's distinctly human in flavor. We're gonna go with it. It's a first draft. Flavor. Okay. Is it a fish human and the narrator is a cat? No. What is your new book about? This one is, it's called The Sky Island Story. It's about Sky Islands. It's very new, so I'm not good at explaining it yet. I think you'll probably get an idea from me writing this chapter, because this is chapter 1, so we're introducing stuff. The main character has wings. We've got more of the Mage Pocket fandom in the chat. Everett, okay. Human in flavor. The mushrooms would think it was positively delicious. And there's also carnivorous mushrooms. Oh, one of you is writing a book with a character with wings. Yeah, this guy was born with wings. He doesn't get wings. Everett Levitt. Everett blinked and leaned out of the tree at a precarious angle. Okay, stop second-guessing yourself, Millie. Just write. Get back in first draft mode. Okay. Everett blinked and leaned out of the tree at a precarious angle, although could not have been so precarious. Precarious. Okay, I'm not gonna keep waxing about precarious angles. To be fair. What does Matilda look like again? Alright, I keep forgetting her hair is braided because someone made fan art of her where it's down. Where it's, yeah. Overalls, turtle-like hat. Well, he would see her hat if he's looking from above. Large white or yellow freckles, short stocky. Okay. What does her hat look like? Now it's really important what her hat looks like. I feel like it would be an interesting hat. Have a straw sun hat with clusters of small mushrooms tucked into the brim. Everett immediately, I can spell my character's name. Everett immediately wondered, feared the sanity of the person wearing it. I love that I haven't explained the mushroom things yet in this chapter, and so I just keep saying ominous things about mushrooms. We'll find out from beta readers if that's confusing or intriguing, but right now I just love it. So, And now Millie understands my pain when she writes a character whose hair changes and you're suddenly trying to remember which iteration you're on. To be fair, it only changes, well, okay, no, it does change more than once. Because there's one scene where she has it completely down, I think. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, Sarah is illustrating for my book A Letter, a Lighthouse, and a Ghost Cat, and it's fully illustrated, so she illustrates like multiple scenes throughout it. What's happening here? I am writing a book. Welcome. I'm writing a book and you guys are welcome to watch. Now I'm thinking about it, your sister is right. This does remind me of The Incorrigible Children of Ashton Plays. It has similar fun quirks. Thank you! I'm glad you think so. I do love that book series. I do think there's some of that flair in it. I'm enjoying writing it. Alright, Everett immediately feared for the sanity of the person wearing it. I'm really struggling to get started today with this, unless I'm just overthinking how long it's been. Alright, Everett immediately feared for the sanity of the person wearing it. Hat tilted upwards, revealing a brown face with large white freckles. It didn't look like they had wings. Everett couldn't tell what sort of human they were, but it didn't look like they had wings, so he... I always forget the difference between hopped and hoped. I think that's hopped. So he quickly hopped down the branches below him. I couldn't tell what sort of human they were, but it didn't look like they had wings. So he quickly hopped down the branches below him so as to have a better conversation. I feel like that's an interesting enough opening for their friendship. He was polite like that. I don't know. I feel like there's another narrator opportunity here, probably. Yeah, we'll leave it for now. I kind of want them to, like, immediately have beef with each other. I mean, they already do. Because she crashed into him. But, like, I want him to realize that really, like, quickly off the bat. It would be funny. Yeah, could I just make that happen now? Maybe I could. Once he reached the ground... Upon reaching the ground, however... Upon reaching the ground, however, all thoughts of politeness vanished, and several memories resurfaced. You see, person was a girl. Without an ending on that sentence, that sounds really funny. And several memories resurfaced. The girl who looked distinctly familiar. See, the person was a girl. Okay, that's just unnecessary. The girl looked. You see, the girl looked distinctly familiar, and not in an. I saw you once at a bus. They don't have buses. Maybe they have buses. I don't know. Bus stop. It's not a. They wouldn't have bus stops. And this is also an opportunity to introduce some of the world building. So maybe it's like this is at a airship taxi. And I saw you, and I saw you once at an airship taxi stop kind of way, nor in a I think we were in art class together 2 years ago kind of way. No. The very sight of her freckled face and dark twin braids brought immediate feelings of the very sight of her freckled face and dark twin braids brought immediate feelings of the grammar's not quite right there. Not brought. Immediate feelings of panic and shock to mind. When does this call end? 4:30? No, it ends 5:30. We're going for 2 hours. I don't know what time zone you're in, but I'm streaming for 2 hours. I am currently also writing, and I can't decide what the horseback riding instructor should look like. It's a lady, but I can't decide much more. Ooh, that's a good question. Does chat have any ideas for Maul? Millie, what if they have blimps? They probably do. That's a good idea. I like the idea of them getting around in giant steampunk blimps. Probably something like that. I'm thinking they'll probably call them ships, though. Mal, idea for your horseback riding instructor. Give her, I'm trying to think of like one trait to give her that you can kind of build it around. Give her a really interesting pocket watch. I'm saying that because I recently acquired a pocket watch. And it's cool. Okay. Brought immediate feelings of panic and shock to mind. Not only did he know this girl, he didn't like her. No, let's not do that. You! Are there hot air balloons? Maybe? haven't decided about the existence of hot air balloons in this world quite yet. You, said Everett rather loudly. Reaching the ground, however, Now, as you are not Everett, and therefore have not experienced a sudden flash of memory, allow me to, what if there are giant bouncy mushrooms at the edge of each island that they use for island hopping? So there's actually, I was talking to my sister about this the other day with the mushroom world building, because she is obsessed with mushrooms, and she was telling me there are this type of mushroom called jelly roll mushrooms and orange jelly mushrooms, and it just looks like a little blob of jelly, and I was like, ooh, it'd be cool if in this world they're like bouncy. So I might do something like that. Now, as you are an Everett and have therefore not experienced a sudden flash of memory, allow me to paint the picture for you. I need to paint a picture of what has just gone through protagonist's mind. Our protagonist's mind. I would like you to imagine, if you will, it is a very dark and stormy night. A cliche, I know. I love this narrator. But accurate to our scene. It is a dark and stormy night, and you happen to be, so, oh, this is a fun way to do backstory. I've never done it this way before. It is a dark and stormy night, and you happen to be a 12-year-old avian human It is a dark and stormy night, and you happen to be a 12-year-old avian human who is in a very bad mood. This bad mood no, not the cause of, is caused by. This bad mood is caused by multiple things, but mainly the fact that your family has been forced to move far away. Maybe we'll save that detail for later. Okay. The angry. Every lap faster, as if you were trying to outfly the anger and the sadness and the frustration. wider loop around the airship, even further from an even wider loop around the airship. Lightning tears a bright, jagged line through the grumbling sky. And I'm getting very into this flashback. In this moment, in a storm of rain and frustration, into you see it for a split second before the collision. Collision? I think that's how you spell collision. My verbal vocabulary is larger than my spelling vocabulary. To cover short distances between islands. Tree-ish sort of shapes. And then there is a flash of dark tree sort of shapes. That, my dear reader, in this that, my dear reader, is what went through Everett's mind. Me. Glad you guys are enjoying this. I resumed writing my ink spring snippet for today. Good for you. That's awesome. What is it about? What's your ink spring snippet? Why don't I take a couple minutes here? Are any of you guys also writing as I'm writing? That was a fun flashback. I do think I've gotten a bit more into the flow of it. It's called I've been working on my middle grade novel. Oh, so fun. Love that. The most ridiculous version of Cinderella ever? That is a wonderful title for a short story. I'm outlining. I just hit a major breakthrough for the book. That is awesome. Good for you. Congratulations, Ruby. Yeah, nice. I'm writing a 4-part middle grade urban fantasy personally. Ooh, that sounds like a fun genre. Very, very cool. Very, very nice. Hi, said the girl. It was not an enthusiastic greeting. It's my rebellion against worrying about my first draft so much. It's been a lot of fun. Oh, that is awesome. I am happy for you, Knots and Novels. My series, yeah. It's a hard hurdle to get over. I've talked about it before, as like you kind of get in different mindsets for different parts of the process, and I have a slightly different mindset for the drafting process for the first draft than I do for the editing, than I do for like second draft, whatever. It's hard to switch between mindsets. It really is. It can be tricky, especially like I'm having beta readers on a different one of my books right now, and it can be hard to switch from that and like changing things to then this, where I kind of have to allow myself to be messy if I'm going to get anything done. at all. So, yeah. Was what went through. It was. A decidedly unenthusiastic greeting. That does seem difficult. Is that a Bluey reference I see? I love Bluey. Bluey is such excellent writing. It was, in fact, decidedly. Bluey is actually so good, though. Definitely best kids show currently in production. I agree. So well done. You can learn so many writing lessons from watching Bluey. It's excellent. Both children stared at each other for a moment. Hi, Everett returned at last. For real, the sign makes me cry every time. Yeah, that's a good one. Ugh. There's another one. What was the one that really... I'm trying to think. What's everyone's favorite Bluey episode? If you've watched Bluey, drop it in the chat. I'm curious. Hi, Everett returned at last. I've never seen one. Sarah! That's a crime. You would love it. You would love Bluey, Sarah. It is very much up your alley. Is it the rain one? I can't remember if the episode is called Rain, but it's one where they don't talk at all. It's just music. That one I really like a lot. Yeah, where it's like it's completely silent. No voice acting, just music. I like that one a lot. You have homework, yes. And to think I teach preschoolers. Exactly. How have you not? You gotta do your research. I've never seen one either. It's really worth it. And there are some just for free, like on YouTube, that you can look up and watch. They're really short because they are written for like 6 and 7 year olds. Well, okay, so they're written for 6 and 7 year olds and their parents, which I think is part of what sets it apart as a show. Is it was written with like parents and adults in mind as well. So, but they're really, really good. You guys should look them up if you haven't watched any of them yet, because the storytelling is super tight. It's kind of a masterclass on how to write like short fiction, like that is all like self-contained within an episode, and it has a whole arc, and it tugs at your heartstrings. A lot of them do, and makes you laugh. Like it's really good. It's really, really good. Flatpack is crazy with all the allegories for like religion and creation and life. That one's probably my favorite out of the 3 that I saw. Yeah, that one's good too. I've seen like people have written video essays about that one. Yeah. Very, very good. how do I want to go about this? If you have crash landed on an abandoned floating island with someone else who caused you to crash land, how does this conversation go? We're still talking about Bluey. I love all of them, but my toddler sister has started quoting Bluey, and we have to try and remember what the next line in the episode is to respond back to her. Oh, that is so sweet. I love that. There are definitely lines that I quote from Bluey. There's one that my family quotes quite a bit, which is, "How very dare you!" That one, you know, in the Australian accent, I think is quite funny. She loves to play Pass the Parcel by Lucky's Dad's Rules. We played that for some family event that my family did. We played that game, so yeah. Love that. That's so fun. Bluey's the best. Okay. Everett returned at last. Put him off his original train of thought. The girl sighed. What's your name? It was an astonishingly commonplace question to be asked when you have woken up stranded on a floating island of nowhere. Then again, what would your first question to be? If you were in a similar circumstance, yeah. She does have a bit of trouble understanding that she doesn't get to win every time, as goes with toddlers. Aww! That tracks. That makes sense. Okay, alright. Then again, what would your first question be if you were in a similar circumstance? I feel like that could be a more punchy line, but we'll leave it for now. Everett Levitt. What's yours? I would be quite disgruntled, yes. Exactly. She looked like a Matilda Mosscap. Ah. Look, I am... No, actually, let's have them both insist that the other person crashed into them. Another long silence. some ways I'm not sure if I am, like, maybe I'm overthinking it, but in some ways I'm not sure if I am, like, even ready to write this book in a way, or if it needs more time to kind of stew, but we'll get through this. You crashed into me, said Everett with a glare. You hurt my wings. Like, this dialogue is just not feeling terribly exciting. This is what first drafts are for, though, I suppose. They're giving you secondhand embarrassment. Good. I feel like them being very, very awkward around each other at first, and kind of slowly becoming friends, I feel like could be quite an interesting and potentially relatable arc. Like, they kind of have some beef. They definitely have some beef, but I do feel like focusing more on the awkward could be quite fun. Not enemies to friends, awkward to friends. You hurt my wings. Oh, I wish it would stop correcting that. Because grammatically, that's supposed to stay lowercase in this case. Even if a dialogue ends on an exclamation mark, it's gotta be lowercase. Was it just your wings or your pride as well? That would be a really clever response, but she does not know him well enough right now to be that clever. She's, again, I'm beginning to figure Matilda out. I think she thinks a lot more clever things than she actually says. I think she is actually quite introverted, but it's like the awkward, kind of aggressive introvert, where like she's judging you, you know? That sort of thing. You crashed into me. So she's a cat, yes. That might be a good thing for the grandma to say later. Yes! Yes. Oh, I'm so excited to write the grandma character. I mean, you crashed into me. I did not. No. I do feel like having the communication between them be like quite realistic is interesting. Not as many, like, just, I don't know. I love their awkwardness. I think I think what I'm learning right now is like that's what I want to lean into for them, is just them being awkward. So quite unwieldy. And just a couple of middle schoolers who don't know what to do. Imagine Matilda judging him for his flying skills, and Everett is extremely defensive and self-conscious about it. I think Everett is more like... I feel like Everett is kind of like blindly confident about his flying skills. Like he's like, I'm the best, you know? And she's like, sure, you know? So far this story is a cat who eats mushrooms and Lightning McQueen go on an adventure, and I love it so much. Yes, pretty much. I must away. Goodbye, Sarah. Thank you for joining. I appreciate you being here. The whole situation was becoming quite unwieldy, and it was making his head spin. Wait, is Matilda a cat or a human? Sorry, for the confusion, Ruby. She is a human. We're saying that she has cat energy because she's like introvertedly judging you, is what people are saying. But I can understand the confusion because yes, Everett has wings. So the world building here, little recap for those who are new. They're all gonna be like fantasy races, essentially. I haven't decided what the name of her fantasy human version is called. But she's basically like immune to everything. This is the basics. And then Everett is an avian. I have so many fun ideas for them because they're basically like opposites. Like he's light and fast and he can fly and he zooms around, and then she is very that's injured easily. And then she's very durable. But cannot fly. Probably much heavier than him just because of like he probably has like hollow bones or something. I don't think I ever wrote this down, but yeah, I'm imagining like he would break bones really easily because avian stuff, because you have to be so light to fly. I did some more research on birds and things and it was super interesting. So yeah, Everett has probably like broken so many bones in his life. And he just bounces back. Like that's a bit of the vibe. Reckless perfectionist, I think I said before, but yeah. So is Everett a bird or a human? He is a human with bird wings. He's an avian human. They're all humans. But a lot of them have like there's like in this world there are different types of humans, and some of the humans have wings. Also, some of the humans can like be set on fire and not burn. Again, you can look at my past like world building live streams if you would like to get more details on that, but that's the basics. So, ooh, yes, very very fun, very exciting. Perhaps that was because he hit his head in the crash. We have reached 2,000 words here. I'm trying to think what... So honestly, when you're writing middle grade, you actually want the chapters to be shorter. Like 2,000 is probably on the higher end of what I like, which is... It's so interesting for me because the way my brain works, I tend to write scenes and kind of like sections of the story in 3,000 word chunks. So it's been difficult. Especially more recently, I've kind of made more of an effort to break my chapters up into like 1,500 to 2,000 word chunks, basically. So I wonder if we can kind of... Where are we? If we can kind of bring it to an end here. It's not the greatest full arc, but I thought she was humanoid frog. She had, I think people have said she kind of has some traits like the leathery skin that would be similar to like a toad, but it's not frog exactly. I don't know what it would be called. I have yet to come up with a name for what Matilda's version of human is, basically. So, okay, let's see if we can end off this chapter around here. The whole situation was becoming quite unwieldy, and it was making his head spin. Perhaps that was because he had hit his head in the crash. Where are we? He asked. At last. It seemed a good question. important question. All things considered. This is definitely the point where I'm like, I'm not sure how much I like all of this. Then again, I'll probably reread it in a few days and be like, that's not that bad, you know? That is something I have discovered. It seems an important question, all things considered. Okay, what's a snappy ending for this? I mean, it could take another 100 words to get there, but... Matilda shrugged, which did not exactly inspire confidence. I don't know. Somewhere in the mushroom territory. You know, I feel like it might be kind of interesting after this to kind of like open the next chapter with more explanation from the narrator about kind of the world building and stuff, which feels so counterintuitive to what I'm used to. Because especially with Mage Pocket, I tried so hard to like incorporate all exposition into like almost screenplay format where like you see it happening, you see the characters interacting with it, and that's kind of how you get to know the world, which is technically the most effective strategy. But then again, like you can also break those rules on purpose for a certain effect, and the narrator is one of the things I'm doing here, so we'll try it. I can always fix it later, I guess, but I feel like, yeah, we need the reader to understand a little bit more of what's going on here. So, might be the sort of thing where I do a artistic info dump and fix it later kind of deal. So, yeah. Okay. Are you not? Well, yes, I know that. Tree bark behind him. Everett gestured to the mushrooms growing from the tree bark behind him. Oh, I don't like how this conversation is going. I also tend to do artistic info dumps. Sometimes that's what you've got to do. And then you fix it in the second draft. It's part of the process. Maybe if you make them more grumpy it would work. Potentially, I am considering that. I'm just trying to figure out what flavor of grumpy would work for their characters. I feel like it'd be fun to see both of them trying to escape independently while being smug towards each other as they realize they need each other to get out. I really like that idea, Mel. I think you might be right there. Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think the issue with this conversation is they're both very independent people. And yeah, I think that, yeah. Matilda because she just doesn't like to deal with people. And Everett because of his like overconfidence, I guess. So I think you're absolutely right. I think trying to force them to work together, yeah, and that'll be a fun arc as well to write here. Okay, yeah. I think you're right. Like, no, we can't do that. That's a problem. Yeah, being like, maybe a problem for you. Yeah, exactly. They're just like, they're so awkward and they're not communicating. I love them, but also they're a struggle. Well, yes, I knew that. Everett gestured to the mushrooms growing from the tree bark behind him. It's giving Zootopia 2. I haven't watched Zootopia 2. Was it good? What did you guys think? What were we talking about? Where I just need a reminder here for where we were at. Exciting incident. He probably could be more upset about his wings. You should. The end was hilarious as a writer. Interesting. I'll have to check it out. Yeah, okay. I have everything in line here. It's just like, just need to talk to each other. Okay. Yes, I know that. Everett gestured to the mushrooms. The more I'm writing on my own stories I listen to you, the more my style starts to slowly mimic it in little ways. Hopefully not too much. I don't want to override your own personal, unique writing voice. But I'm also flattered, so. I'm glad you're enjoying the stream. I wonder if there's probably a subconscious element to that too as well. I just feel like I'm kind of stuck here. I'm also realizing that just like writing a novel live is a lot harder than writing a short story, which is what I've done before. Or editing a short story. How much have we written so far today? Have I written so far today? Almost 1,000. That's not bad. My sister says hi. Hello, Knots and Novels sister. I think I know your name from Wind-Ups, but I don't know if you want that to be public information. think what they need is some physical goal. That I need them to like start physically moving, I think, and doing something. They might have continued on like this for quite some time. If a I also don't know how I want to end this chapter. Ugh. If what happened? Something needs to happen. Ah, okay. I'm just thinking through different things right now. I am beginning to realize that, like, the setting that I have placed them in, and I'm gonna have to figure out how to write this for the rest of the book, which is probably good for me as a writer to try and learn something new. But because they're going to be, not only now, but in the future, in these, like, abandoned places, there's just not a lot of, like, unless they're fighting mushrooms, which will happen at night, there's just not a lot of, like, external stimulus to interact with them, to kind of force them to do charactery things. Which, like, I know where I want them to get to. I might just be kind of overthinking how they're gonna get there. Maybe Everett tries to fly away but realizes his wings are damaged and it ends on a cliffhanger. He's already tried to fly. Where are Everett's parents at this point? I don't know. That's a good question. I appreciate you guys trying to help. It's more of a micro issue than anything else, though. Like, on a macro level, I know what I want them to do. I know I need to steer the conversation in the direction where, like, Matilda goes over to the glider. And she's like, look, my plan is to fix this glider to get out of here. And Everett is all annoyed, so. And then we get to, like, this scene. I'm just trying to figure out how to get them here. My brain is not braining. And honestly, this might be a sign that I need to set this aside for a little bit and figure it out later, because I do feel like I don't know how much, like, forward progress I'm actually making at the moment. Animals, something startles them and they start running. Yeah, I need something to startle them in this moment. I have to go. Thanks for having me. Thanks for being here and watching me try to work through a minor bout of writer's mud. I appreciate it. See, should I bring up the mushrooms? I am definitely overthinking this. But it happens. Crack in the tree. And they're like, oh, is it mushrooms? But no, it's not mushrooms, because they don't have to deal with those until sundown. Then we get to talk about mushroom stuff. But also... Yeah, I'm definitely overthinking this. Oh... I think I might have to walk away from this and work on something else and come back to it. because I do think that just staring at it right now is not really helping. Again, as I said before, I don't even really know if I'm quite ready to write this book yet. Writing the individual scenes has been kind of fun. But yeah, I think I just need to think through this a little bit more, maybe plot a little bit more. It happens. I did have a lot of fun writing that backstory scene, though. I really, really did. Yeah. All right, well, we are almost out of time anyway at this point. So I think we'll probably pause there. I know it's not the most exciting. I was kind of hoping to like have a good note to end the chapter on, but yeah, I think I need to stop and think about it and maybe replot some stuff because something here is not quite working and I need to figure out what it is. So yeah. What was I going to say about this? I had a thought. But yeah, we're gonna pause there with the book itself. I have enjoyed sprinting with thee. Thank you. I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, how did you guys, everyone else's writing go? Who was writing? I do want to pitch to you guys an idea for another type of live stream that I have had for a little bit now. Would any of you guys want to see me play Minecraft? Because that is something I'm considering. Possibly building some of the worlds and things from my books in Minecraft is one of my ideas, or even just playing on a Minecraft survival world in general and talking about books in the meantime, like answering questions as I play Minecraft. That is something else I have considered. See you next time. This helped me get through writer's mud to my next scene. I am so glad to hear that. Wonderful. So happy it was helpful. This was awesome. So glad I was able to join this. Yay, I'm so happy. Oh, we're seeing a lot of yeses for the Minecraft idea. Okay, awesome. I will keep that in mind, see if I can work something out. Because I do quite enjoy playing. It's a different kind of creativity. It's very visual creativity, which is very good as a writer to work with something creative that is not words. Glad you guys are excited about that idea. Well, then that will be coming in the near future, probably, and you can keep an eye out for it on my YouTube channel. But yeah, thank you guys all for joining me. Especially since this was maybe not the most exciting session, but hopefully you guys were productive. And this is real. If you ever wondered, for a professional writer, if sometimes you're just like, I don't like this scene, this isn't really working, I don't quite know what to do. Yeah, this is how it goes. And hopefully, yay! Keep an eye on my YouTube channel. I will get it scheduled soon. And yeah, add it to the queue, add it to the calendar. So thank you guys all so much for joining, and I will see you guys next time. If you are not familiar with me already, please check out my books, which you